Where is the Shin Godzilla 2 confirmation, and why was there no news on Godzilla Minus One's sequel? What is going on with the Godzilla 70th anniversary panel at San Diego Comic-Con 2025, aka the biggest Comic-Con in the world, and home to typically the largest announcements in the entertainment industry? Why was absolutely nothing revealed at the SDCC Godzilla 2025 panel? Is the narrative that the internet has taken and run with. There was a lot to cover at the 70th anniversary Godzilla panel. It just so happens that we didn't get the news that a lot of people wanted, which I think is fine. Today, I'll discuss why there was no Shin Godzilla sequel announcement. Let's jump into it. Really quickly, before we jump into the panel, I do want to cover some artwork. This first piece was sent to us by Kaiju Freak V2, and they really wanted me to show this off in the next news and updates, so here I am. This is their Shin Godzilla sequel concept design, and I really like it. It's very much the Shin Godzilla design, but just kind of, I would say this is even sort of like just a 1/2 step evolution up from where he leaves the movie. The spine shape has changed. I like it. They're a bit sharper. It's actually, I can see what you're doing. You're making him a bit more like the King of the Monsters spines, which is very cool. The arm is a lot thicker, getting stronger. It's now flipping back over, like he's getting into a more natural Godzilla stance. It's like Godzilla's basically becoming more well-rounded, which I really like. He also looks a lot less defigured here. I think that this is kind of along the lines that we could see in a Shin Godzilla sequel. Like I said, I feel like this is a 1/2 step. I feel like that will take it even further. This next piece comes to us from Edison Neo, and this is their Godzilla versus Guts art. Now, I don't watch Berserk, but I love this artwork. Godzilla looks fantastic here. I love how scary his face looks, and Guts looks so cool too with that big sword. I do not know how this fight would go. I've never seen the show, so I have no clue if that sword would do anything to Shin Godzilla, but the artwork itself is very awesome, and I really wanted to show it off. Finally, I don't know how much time is left, if any, but by the time this video comes out, I hope it's not too late. It might be too late. Like I said, I have to pre-schedule these things. Cavity Colors launched a brand new Shin Godzilla shirt. This one is so freaking cool, man. It's got the evolution of Godzilla on it. You've got Kamata-kun to Shinagawa-kun. It's cool that he gets double shout out. That's sick. And then Godzilla himself there. I don't know what comfort colors are, but it supposedly comes in comfort colors as well. The title for this shirt was pretty dope. They called it the Shin Godzilla All Hope Lost shirt. It's so dope. The artwork is amazing. Love Cavity Colors shirts. In fact, I'm wearing one right now. Their shirts are so high quality. They're so nice to wear. They feel great. The artwork is amazing. I love this style of artwork when they do this, and I wanted to show it off again. Due to the release schedule I'm gonna have to go with, I have no idea when this video will come out or if it'll be on time, but all the links down below. I also want to give a special shout out to my friend Kyle, Kaiju Canuck. Guys, go check out Kyle's channel, Kaiju Canuck, link down below. Please go check him out. He's actually there, boots on the ground, reporting from SDCC Live. Thanks to him sharing the SDCC panel, we can dive into what was revealed there. Let's jump into that SDCC panel and talk about it. Getting into it, Toho held their first ever official Godzilla panel at San Diego Comic-Con 2025, the biggest Comic-Con in the entire world, and people are so conditioned to getting massive news reveals there, especially as it results to film, that I think they were very thrown off when Godzilla's panel really was more of a comic con than anything. It really had a lot of comic reveals. So many comic reveals. In fact, I've got a whole video breaking down all the figure and comic reveals that came out already. You can go check that video out. But for now, let's jump on into the Shin Godzilla side of things and the film side of things. I'd first like to thank Toho for sharing some photos of this panel. I'd also like to thank Kaiju United for releasing some panel photos. And of course, my friend Kaiju Canuck, and who was actually the one who posted the panel online for us to be able to experience together. Big thank you to Kaiju Canuck. Please go show Kaiju Canuck some love. Go head on over to that video, even if it's just to like that video and leave a comment just to get that video out there, spread that video, share that video, so that more people can watch the Godzilla panel at San Diego Comic-Con. And just because, go give credit to the guy who posted this so that we could break it down here on this channel. Next up was when the Shin Godzilla portion of the panel started, and this featured the updated 4K trailer for the re-release of Shin Godzilla coming out this August. Shinji Higuchi, the co-director of Shin Godzilla, came on stage to talk all things Shin Godzilla. He starts out by revealing how excited he was for Monarch Season 2, and then he says it's hard to believe it's been over 10 years since they shot Shin Godzilla in the first place, and he explains that he worked really hard to create the 4K remaster of this movie, and he hopes people see it and that it's still relevant 10 years later. They then say that they weren't sure how far they could take Godzilla in CGI due to the previous films being limited by suitmation. They ran some experiments and really liked the CGI results, but didn't want to go for a real dinosaur natural direction because they felt like at the end of the day they couldn't top Jurassic Park, so what's the point in even trying? Instead, they wanted to return to the original Godzilla 1954 suit. This was in order to make Godzilla feel more distinctly Japanese in Shin Godzilla, so they used that 1954 suit as inspiration and tried to do things like recreating the wrinkles in that suit in the CGI model so that the new Shin Godzilla felt like a classic Godzilla. Higuchi then slips a little bit and jokes he's not sure why they didn't use a suit at the end of the day, considering they basically just created one in CGI, and then says, sorry, Anno. That's probably the most interesting part of this panel to me, the fact that we have a modern day Godzilla director, one who's actively working on Godzilla films, expressing direct interest in continuing the Suitmation legacy. Obviously, Shinji Higuchi has worked in the special effects industry for a long time. I believe his first Godzilla film, as we'll talk about in a bit, was Godzilla 1984, where he worked on set. He's also worked on the Heisei Gamera series, and his work on Shin Godzilla was a very different curve for him, as he had some practical effects in that film, but mostly they were working in the CGI space. So it's interesting to hear a Godzilla director express interest in maybe returning to the Suitmation form, something that has been expressed by some of the Heisei creatives recently as well, and I don't know if that means anything for the future, but I'd like to believe that maybe we can get to a point some point soon where we can start to bring back suits into the mainstream Godzilla films and blending them with CGI to create the perfect Godzilla experience. If Shinji Higuchi returns for a Shin Godzilla 2, I'd wonder if they return to that animatronic idea that they abandoned partway through the first Shin Godzilla. They state that they knew the best CGI they could ever do would never top Hollywood CGI, and so their approach was completely different. They didn't approach it from the perspective of trying to focus on equaling or topping Hollywood CGI quality, but instead having their own style to it. He then jokes about how he's actually super distracted about his excitement for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collab, and he's having trouble focusing, which I think is very fun. I just love to see how much he truly loves Godzilla. Higuchi does refer to Godzilla's second form as Kamata, which canonizes the Kamata-kun nickname. People have given the second form of Godzilla for years, and then he jokes about how in Japan there's a Kamata-kun ketchup bottle that squirts blood from his gills and how it didn't sell very well because it's so weird. They then talk about how many borderline deep sea fish live in Tokyo Bay and how they actually took a lot of inspiration from things like gill sharks for the second form of Godzilla in order to craft his appearance, and basically because Godzilla came from Tokyo Bay, he was inspired by the sea life of Tokyo Bay. Higuchi talks about how he worked on Godzilla 1984 part-time on set, and before he reveals what his prized Godzilla possession is, clearly something from that film, the fire alarm goes off and interrupts them, so he never gets to finish that story.
That was about yay big.
Alarm is being investigated by the Vegetation Security.
Finally, they act like they're going to open it up for audience questions, only for O'Shea Jackson Jr., Barnes from Godzilla King of the Monsters, to rush the stage, crashing the panel, saying that his favorite Godzilla film is King of the Monsters for obvious reasons, and then he asks what everyone on stage's favorite Godzilla film is. Higuchi starts out saying he doesn't want to sound like a sellout to US fans, but his favorite Godzilla film is
Godzilla vs. Megalo.
Someone up there, I believe it's Sean Conrad, then refers to him as Jaguar, so clearly I'm not the only one who says it that way. It's called a dialect, people. I've been asking tons of people I know to pronounce the word Jaguar, and most people pronounce it Jaguar. They don't say Jaguar. Everybody I know says Jaguar, so up yours, guys. We also get some King Kong vs. Godzilla 1962 love. He gets a special shout out because of Kong's lightning resurrection, which I thought was fun, and some love for both Godzilla 1998, shockingly, and Godzilla 2014. O'Shea Jackson Jr. wraps up by saying that he hopes he can work with Toho again very soon, obviously teasing Monarch G Team without actually saying it, but it's very fun and hopefully Monarch G Team comes out. Finally, they end with some trivia and give away some figures. And that is where the panel ends, which left people going, hey, wait a minute, where was the Shin Godzilla 2 reveals? Well, I didn't necessarily think we'd get any, but I was kind of hopeful. The timing just doesn't seem right to me. While the Bloomberg article came out and teased that Toho was playing around with the idea of a Shin Godzilla 2, I do think we have to wait, and I'll tell you why. The reason we got some kind of teasers for the Godzilla Minus One sequel around New York Comic-Con is because, and I'll note that they didn't announce anything at New York Comic-Con, they announced it like the week later, Takashi Yamazaki, the director of Godzilla Minus One and the next Godzilla movie, was there. It's also the next Godzilla movie up regardless. It's going to be the next one up and then Supernova. That just seems to be the way it's going to be, unless some catastrophic delays occur behind the scenes and the Minus One sequel is pushed to beyond Supernova's release, which would be very surprising to everybody. But why not announce anything about Shin Godzilla? Well, I think for a couple reasons. Number one, because they didn't want to take focus off of the Minus One sequel. I think that's probably a behind the scenes reason. Number two, the Bloomberg article does say it's a potential for a Shin Godzilla sequel, but what does that that potential look like? I heard about the Shin Godzilla sequel quite a bit before it was announced in that Bloomberg article. I was very shocked by that news, but it's one of the reasons I really believed that Bloomberg article. I know people like Dai-chan seem to be on the same page. Dai-chan has even stated, as I covered in my last Shin Godzilla video, that apparently in Japan, it's just not much of a secret. It's an open secret that they're considering making a Shin Godzilla 2, which how did we never hear about that in the United States until the Bloomberg article? I don't know, but apparently it's an open secret. But either way, I think it's important to note that it's just the time's not right. Well, I do believe that there's a lot of credibility to it. Things can change. I think that they are trying to find a way forward for Shin Godzilla. I've detailed that in depth in previous videos, and I've detailed why they would be looking for a way forward with Shin Godzilla, but we don't know because we don't know how the Minus One sequel is going to do. If that Minus One sequel comes out and does really poorly, I could see them being like, hey, maybe, wait a minute, maybe we need to rethink our Godzilla strategy because we might not have what we thought we did, which in some ways could be like, oh, hey, wait a minute, people aren't into the Minus One sequel, it's time to jump into Shin Godzilla and see what they think about that. So it could go either way. And on the other hand, if that Minus One sequel does incredibly well, they could be like, oh yeah, there's a lot of hype for Godzilla, let's get that Shin Godzilla sequel underway so we can keep them rolling. Or they could be like, hey, wait a minute, that Minus One sequel did so well, maybe we need to make another one of those, maybe we should continue with the Minus One series. There's a lot of variables at play, including the upcoming release of Shin Godzilla. I think, as I said on a recent live stream, one of the reasons we might not get San Diego Comic-Con reveals is because they need to wait to see how the Shin Godzilla re-release does in the United States to gauge if there's US investment in Shin Godzilla as a movie and as a brand. Remember, Toho's new objective is to both try and capture their Japanese audience and keep their Japanese audience engaged in Godzilla while expanding the Japanese Godzilla overseas to overseas fans. In order to get overseas fans invested in Godzilla, they don't want to risk it on a Godzilla that overseas fans aren't responding to. Godzilla Minus One was certainly the more internationally praised Godzilla movie than Shin Godzilla, and I think that has a lot to do with the releases of those two movies. Shin Godzilla had a very minor release, but that's what they're testing here with this new G-Kids re-release of Shin Godzilla. They're trying to gauge if there's widespread interest in Shin Godzilla. Why didn't they release Shin Godzilla next year for the 10th anniversary of Shin Godzilla? Well, it could be because they don't want to distract from the Minus One sequel, which pretty much everybody, including myself, believes is going to come out next year. And then the year after that is Supernova, and then by then you lose your chance to re-release Shin Godzilla. So this is the year to re-release it, and I think that re-release, however it does at the box office, however people respond to it critically, it's going to help better inform what Toho does next. It is a possibility of a Shin Godzilla 2, meaning there's too many variables for them to make a decision at this moment, but as I keep saying, I've laid out a timeline in other videos of behind the scenes. We can track the path that Shin Godzilla 2 never died, it just continued to change and get pushed, and we're still seeing that happen. It's continuing to get pushed down the line until we can keep seeing what the future of Godzilla becomes. So that is why I don't think we got the Shin Godzilla sequel announcement that people wanted. As for why we didn't get a Minus One sequel announcement, well, because the movie's just about to start filming. Takashi Yamazaki's got to be busy with pre-production, right about to get into actual production for Godzilla Minus One sequel, so they've got other things going on over there. He probably couldn't come to Comic-Con, and if he did, it would probably be quite the distraction for him. And so the timing just isn't right for the Godzilla Minus One sequel either. But to say nothing was announced at the Comic-Con panel is disingenuous, I say. It just wasn't the things you wanted. Alright, that's where I'm gonna leave you for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I want to give a huge thank you to all my patrons over on Patreon. It is through the support of the patrons on Patreon that I'm able to continue to make videos like this for you. Thank you to patrons like Kid Bewolf for joining D-Force. I really appreciate it. Supporting the Patreon or joining as a channel member are the most direct ways to support this channel and to make sure that I can continue to make videos like this for you. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man out.